Hello and welcome. This is Japan, and we just had War Games not more than 20 minutes ago. It ended, so we're going to talk about it. This was a card and a half, I guess. Like it feels like. Why did I put this in order? I feel like the card itself wasn't like super crazy ahead of time, so we thought that like, hey, the matches are gonna have to be better than normal, but I don't know. I feel like I wasn't really pumped for this, and maybe that makes it a little bit different of how I rate it compared to somebody else, because maybe somebody who's really pumped for this card would be like, this is a better thing, but I guess we'll just that's what we're going to discuss here. So we'll start off with the women's war game match. Again, them not main eventing is kind of crazy. I feel like their storyline was better. Like they had much bigger stories, like for intersecting stories from individuals and stuff, and they did heavily focus on the Rhea Charlotte Flair storyline, which I think was the worst decision to do there. And I feel like they added Becky Lynch just in a little too late with AJ Lee. I think they could have let that simmer for at least one extra week, and we could have possibly got an even richer storyline, because after this, you would assume that those two would be feuding. The tag team champs obviously are going to have to defend against the previous tag team champs with Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. And then obviously you got Nia Jax and Lash Legend on the other side, probably trying to do something with just, I would assume Jade Cargill would probably be their next decision at some point to do that. And then obviously Io and Rhea kind of still around Asuka and Kairi Sane, but I feel like there's going to be some other stuff there. So like there's just a lot of rich storyline that they could have explored a little bit more and like let it simmer, and everything could have been better. The match itself I still think was pretty good. I feel like both War Games matches suffer from where it's like a lot of people don't know a lot of stuff, but the women's especially, I don't know why they just let everybody else be idle in the background. Like at least the men's had a few things going on in the background where they would have to cut really fast to something crazy happening or just a move. But the women's was just like very heavily focused on just one area, and I just think that can kind of make the match suffer because not everybody gets the amount of eyes that they should. I think obviously the MVP would have to be Io Sky. I mean, obviously that's the trash can spot always is going to be one of the best spots. Honestly, I don't even know who I would say is the worst worker in here. Like, yeah, even I think maybe I'd say just Becky Lynch, but nothing about necessarily being like bad. It's just I don't think she had the highlights that she needed. I think everybody else had pretty good. It was just kind of like she was like I kind of don't want to be there type of thing, and obviously it kind of like worked out for the storyline and stuff, and with Becky Lynch being the one that was taking the submission at the end, you can kind of see that it's kind of a weird year for Becky, to be honest. I don't necessarily think that was the wrong decision. It just was a bit of odd decision. I put this in a solid B. I liked it. I think I liked last year's a little bit better. It just didn't really have the amp up once they got everybody in the ring that I thought we would get. Like I said, the action that we did see was good, but the problem was that we just saw like basically just a mix of like singles matches instead of anything else. Then we had John Cena versus Dominic Mysterio. Honestly, I was kind of pumped for this one because I could honestly feel like it could go either way. I think with like having the title on John Cena, it would have been nice for him to retire either with it or like passing it on to somebody else, with also like getting them started into like a new title run with the IC title. Beating John Cena is like a big thing for somebody. And yeah, they could have really created a star if they would have used somebody from NXT or somebody that was on the younger side there, but they didn't really take that opportunity the way that they should have, I guess. But that's just me. So we'll talk about just the match itself. I thought was pretty decent, good spots. Obviously, Liv Morgan returning was the highlight of the thing, where she seemed like she was going to attack Dom, which I didn't necessarily understand why we would have assumed that. Maybe that she's just mad that like Dom's done stuff, but like I felt like they could have, like if they were going to do that, they could have done something in a Raw recently that would have made it a little bit clearer that like maybe she might not like what he's doing. Obviously, we saw the Judgment Day before that trying to help him. John Cena took a Pop Rocks and a Tahiti. What is it? What had the T-bomb thing that Raquel Rodriguez does? Tijuana bomb. I knew if I kept saying it, my brain would eventually fire synapses enough to actually know what the hell I was trying to say, which was cool. I think that was a cool highlight of the match. I do think for an entertainment value, I prefer this match over all the other ones. For a wrestling value, I don't think it was that great, but I'd put it in A just because of the value. Then we get to Stephanie versus Nikki Bella. I have a lot of thoughts on this match. Just before the match even started, I feel like if they really were gonna have Nikki turn heel and turn on Stephanie, they should have done it a little bit better. Because one, it was just Nikki who got pinned a bunch of times, and then is the one that turns on her. It felt like there should have been some other type of letdown, like where maybe Stephanie would have messed something up, and even if she just messed up something up and then and Nikki took the pin for it, it would have been better. And it just felt like, oh well, 'cause she turned on her, she gets a title match, and that's just kind of a dumb reasoning when somebody's so cold going into it. Because like if it was something where it was completely just out of the blue and like like they didn't have like Nikki really like wrestling or doing matches, that would have been fine. Like it would have just been like, okay, well she kind of deserves to do something. But I'm just gonna be honest. I just feel like they should have had this match in the first place. Stephanie's obviously has been wrestling really well, and I think she wrestled really good here. If you just put her just on herself on this match, I'd probably put her in the A. I think she did everything great, but she had to wrestle a lot around Nikki Bella. I think Nikki Bella coming back with the style of wrestling that's currently going on in the women's roster just doesn't fit exactly where it needs to be. I think in a tag match or that type of stuff, it's very less noticeable compared to a singles match where you kind of just see people wrestling around her. And I think overall that just kind of fit. I just think this match just didn't have anything in it for me. So I'm going to put it down in C. But it really sucks for Stephanie. Then we get to the men's War Game match. Honestly, another match that just felt a little mid, and it felt like it took a while to get to the point. And, the matches are fairly long just by everybody coming in slowly, but it didn't seem like really anything was like surprising or shocking or anything until the very, very end, obviously. But it just felt like it was kind of paper cut. Like I think the biggest move was just Cody entering from the top, jumping down. And then I didn't even think or even remember Drew McIntyre's in that match because he barely did nothing. I mean, he just hit a low blow and he kind of just was there, except for the part where he like first starts because like obviously they highlight him, but after that he was just there. I mean, they kind of had that suffering from a lot of people. They were just kind of there, like they didn't really focus in on too much, and it just kind of wasn't worth it. I mean, obviously, Braun Breaker pins CM Punk, which is kind of the storyline they want to be telling. Kind of an interesting thing because it gives Braun Breaker an opportunity probably to feud with CM Punk going into WrestleMania. And then obviously the mass is sailing, jumping over the barricade, and looking like Seth Rollins does it. He does it. They didn't have his built that way, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be Austin Theory. I'll probably have a whole video just on that at some point. But man, did this just War Games feel disappointing. I think I'd put it in B just because of the last part of it, and I think in general they just gave them more spots to the women, even though the women were far superior in every other way to making a better match. They just didn't allow them to, it felt like. But I'd probably put this PLE at like a C. I know I have a matchup in the A's, but like it just, that I think is more of like the nostalgia value of John Cena and Liv Morgan returning. Like there was a lot in that match that was fun and memorable, but just wasn't it for me. I feel like this PLE together just wasn't there. I wasn't super pumped for it, and I'm not really super excited for what they did. I do feel like Saturday Night Main Event might be low-key a little bit of a better PLE coming up. Obviously, we got the John Cena retirement match, but if he really does do the expeditions of like NXT stars versus main roster stars, there could be some really fun and cool matchups. Like if you get Javon Evans up there, Omofebi, like a lot of that type of stuff could really make that card way better than this. And War Games is kind of like that. I was talking to my partner about that, like when we were watching the show. It was just like there's so much stuff that they put into the War Games matches that the rest of the card didn't feel like they did anything for. And I think altogether that just kind of made the other matches not great either, because you just had it sandwiched between and there was nothing of a substance. It's like having two pieces of bread and having nothing but in the middle, because it was just like, okay, cool. I mean, I got bread, but I kind of wanted the sandwich, but I don't know. I felt like there's just a lot that could have been fixed on this one. One match extra would have definitely helped too, because it just felt very quick, especially with those matches in between that didn't seem like they had a lot. I actually don't know the timing of them, but they really didn't feel like they were super long. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed or hated this PLE, tell me down in the comments below. I kind of want to know what everybody else is thinking. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.